2 o'clock. I guess it's time to go ahead and get started. Thank you guys for coming to our webinar event today. We appreciate your time and we look forward to answering any questions anyone may have after the presentation is concluded. My name is Sean Beckham. I'm with, as I mentioned, Monthly Rentals by Owner and American Snowbird. We're doing a webcast today basically on maximizing occupancy and revenue with the fastest growing market trend, 28 plus day stays. So what I'm going to do is I'll keep it pretty brief, but I'm going to run through 3 basic topics. Number 1 is how to get snowbird guests, entirely pertinent to, of course, states around the southern United States and Caribbean. How to market to all monthly vacationers, and that's really the newest trend that's really been spiking. That's really an exciting new thing. It's kind of been around for a while, but we've seen it just drastically increase since the pandemic and through the turbulent times that have been happening. And and then we're going to go through kind of a bullet list of how to increase your revenue and just a couple other tips and pointers. So that being the case, we'll kind of get going. Again, my name is Sean Beckham. I've been actually in web development going back to almost seems like the Stone Age nowadays, back when the internet was coming around. In 1996, I got my first IT job as a webmaster. My passion has been technology and vacation rentals as a lifestyle. That's really what the monthly vacation market has become. That's what, sort of technology has taken us to, changes in, laws, changes in the way we live our lives. Changes in the availability of products, the availability of properties. We've been servicing the monthly market since 2003, mostly multi-month stays. I have to sort of reiterate that throughout, that the largest, vastest majority of the monthly inquiries that come through our network are actually for 2+ month stays. I'm married of 21 years, I have 2 daughters, I have 3 dogs, and I think my kids and my wife have had us try about every pet out there in the world, but enjoy it, love it. I know other people that are able to take monthly vacations when I am not yet, but I intend to in the future. And I'm the founder and president of Monthly Rentals by Owner and the American Snowbird Network. So how to market to guests, and the number 1 recommendation is still king, is being seen in search engines when people are searching for monthly stays. Of course, you want to be in the, when you say SEO, the organic part of the page. So you do not want to be in the very first part where it's paid ads, where anywhere from 20 to 30% of the people click. You want to be in the bottom where 70 to 80% of the people click. That's a screen capture I just got today, but Google does their dance on a regular basis. It changes constantly. Other ways, of course, are include keywords in your copy, in your marketing. This goes for nightly, weekly, but additional monthly. Backlinks, I heard it recently sort of compared to the cool kids. So, talking to our daughter, backlinks are kind of like the cool kids. So you want to be a cool kid, you start hanging out with cool kids, suddenly you're the cool kid. So you get backlinks from reputable parties, people that are involved in your community, or people that are involved in vacation rentals, things like that. Companies such as, VRMA, different chambers of commerce, convention and visitors bureaus, events you sponsor, things like that, including keywords in your copy and all your marketing. Of course, if you start putting out marketing, and a lot of people have kind of caught on, I visit a lot of our customers' websites, and more increasingly they either have a section of their website for snowbirds or a section for monthly guests, and they've got some copy and places for people to sort of see that they're servicing that market. Social media posts and links, of course, everybody out there has a different preferred platform, between Facebook to LinkedIn to Pinterest to Instagram, et cetera, and so forth. You kind of need to be on all of them, or if not, just pick the ones that you prefer and can be good at and be steady at it. And then monthly guests, the same exact things, but content and articles specific to their needs and the, events in your area, things in your area to do in the off seasons and the shoulder seasons and things like that. And again, I mentioned just those specific areas of your website. So our company, telling you a little bit about us, kind of how we got going and what we've been doing to get to this point. We started back in 2003 with one website, snowbirdcondo.com. 2005, we started adding some other websites, basically tailoring it to each state. I believe we started with a few of the newer ones were alabamasnowbird.com, texassnowbird.com, South Carolina, and then we purchased floridasnowbird.com around that time. Anyway, we ended up adding states as you look around the southern US and the Caribbean, basically for every specific state, to where each state had its own unique site, but also we added a national site, americansnowbird.com. So when you post a property with us, it goes to the national one in whichever state your property is in simultaneously. And it's sort of a network concept. We call it the American Snowbird Network, and it's been working fantastic for us and for owners and property managers that have advertised with us. It's been working so well, and I try to constantly remind people, when you look at the volume of leads, you've got to remember that these are monthly and multi-month leads. They're not a nightly, weekly where they're sending out, they're gonna, send out a ton and try to haggle you down. These are people that are very serious about staying somewhere, living there for 1, 2, 3, even more months of that at a time. And over the past 10 years, we produced over 211,000 inquiries through our actual interfaces, and those are delivered leads to the owners and property managers that use us. So on average, that's 21,000 monthly leads per year, or within the last 2 years with the surge, it's actually up to around 31,000 monthly inquiries per year. Of those inquiries, and again, these are people that spend a lot of time before they send an inquiry, before they send an email, before they call. They sort of research it, they look at the area, they get it down to 1 or 2 properties before they send that inquiry. In fact, 73% of them only send 1 or 2 inquiries. So when that inquiry comes into the people utilizing our services, that's someone that's a very, very serious lead. To give you an idea how we've kind of ingrained ourselves in this market, why we're the person, or why we would be the people to have the knowledge source and the data and the experience. We've been basically coming up on Google for going on 19 years now. We've been having events. We have a national event called Snowbird Fest on the Gulf Coast. It grew from 2012 with 6 vendors and 200 snowbirds to now well over 70 plus vendors, around 4,000 snowbirds. Plus we host other Snowbird Fest events outside of our area, other areas such as Panama City Beach and South Florida and places like that. We attend other national events by like the Canadian Snowbird Association, as well as local CVBs and chambers. At all these events, we hand out our newsletter, which has a printed version of all our properties, because there is a certain contingent of the retiree population. It seems to be less and less that, they get their children or their neighbor, whoever, to help them find the listings. They like to have something in their hands to take home and be able to peruse. So we hand these printed Snowbird newsletters out at all these events as well, in addition to, of course, the standard, or not standard, but the popular social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, you name it. We've got our own page with many followers, in addition to other groups that we run and post to and interact with on a regular basis. And these are just a few screen captures just to sort of illustrate how we get out there in front of people, because I get that question a lot when we're at the national events and things like that, the VRMA events and things of that nature, is how do you get in front of people? Well, we've been doing this again for so long, and when people go to Google these different terms, and these were just a few we took a screen capture of one day, and searching for such common terms as monthly rentals by owner, monthly rentals, monthly vacation, or on the previous screen, let's go back up. Let me. On the previous screen, winter rentals or snowbird rentals, for instance, under snowbird rentals in this particular instance, we come up, and it's very, very hard, as I believe everyone is well aware nowadays, to come up on page 1 of Google, especially for popular terms. Because why? Because all the multi-million-dollar companies are out there, and they're all outranking us. For companies such as VRBO, Airbnb, Zillow, you name it, they're basically dominant on those pages. But because of our stellar Google reputation, and because we've been so relevant and so basically interactive with all of our followers, and they stay with us and they interact between our sites for so many years, we actually rank on page 1. So for such terms as snowbird rentals, there we are sitting at number 1 for American Snowbird, number 2 at American Snowbird, and then Florida Snowbird comes in at number 4. Or for winter rentals, a very, very broad term, we come in at number 2. And again, these are the organic areas where 70 to 80% of the people actually visit. In addition, snowbirds and retirees in particular are very, very familiar now with email. It's a very, very accepted format. It's been around for a long time, and they're very, very active in it whenever we send our email newsletter on a monthly basis. That newsletter always features all of our newest listings, and it gets click-throughs that are just really through the roof. So to give you an idea, Constant Contact, the largest company out there that I'm aware of that basically offers email newsletter services, they'll give you a snapshot of any industry out there. And for open rates for an email newsletter, like for instance, these are 3 relevant markets and they have all kinds such as pets and retail. But for travel and tourism, the number of people that open your emails that you've sent to is 15%, technology 13%, real estate 16%, whereas we get open rates of 26 to 42%. The overall industry average, like across every industry, is 18%. So when we send out these newsletters, it's a person that's looking for a monthly rental and they're looking for specific months. For instance, if they're looking for October, November, they're looking for November, December, and January, any of those weekends gets booked, that rental is no longer available. So they're very, very serious, again, inquiries that are waiting for these properties to become available in areas they're seeking, maybe the number of bedrooms, maybe it's a heated pool or a hot tub they're looking for, whatever the case may be. They're very, very interested in our email newsletters. Click rates, how many people actually go through and actually arrive at your site? And again, this is constant contact metrics for any industry out there. Travel tourism, 11% of people actually make it to your site, 12% for technology, 13% for real estate, and we get open rates from 34 to 41%. There's just a little screen capture on the right where you can sort of see the opens and the clicks and things like that. So how to market to snowbirds, as we're still on that topic. Retirees, baby boomers, and their technology usage. So basically boomers, which in general are 1946 to 64, are researching and comparing trips online. In fact, 84% book their travel online. That's the vast majority of baby boomers. And in fact, how much time do they spend on their computers and how technology savvy are they? They spend 5 hours a day on their smartphones, which is surprisingly the same as millennials. The only difference being that the millennials spend 3 hours a day on social media and 1 hour a day texting, while boomers spend it on email, again, news apps, and surfing the web in general. Also, 99% of baby boomers take 1+ trip a year, spending upwards of 157 billion with a B on travel and controlling 70% of disposable income in the United States. So debunking the myths, busting myths, not just understanding baby boomers, but the entire monthly market. So step 1, let's start with snowbirds. Snowbird myths and misconceptions. We hear this a lot. I go to the shows, 1 out of every 10, 20, whatever it is, people just come up and they just, as vacation rental managers, in broad terms, we make, such a huge part of our money from when the prime season begins to when it ends. Then we have the other months of the year where we're either catching up or we try to fit in a vacation if possible, but then we're gearing up for the next spring and summer or whatever the hot season may be for our areas. And so I get these a lot out of people. I like to just run through them really quickly. Short stays, number 1, they only want to stay a month. Cheap, they only want to pay insanely low rates like $1,000 a month or something. Cheap, second month, they stay several couples in one rental, so there's very little profit. They're time intensive. Number 4, they're just crabby and complain all the time, not worth it. Number 5, my owners want to use the unit in those months rather than renting it for what might boil down to not a really desirable nightly rate. So running through it, we actually have given surveys to the snowbirds that have attended our events, the snowbirds that use our websites, the monthly guests that use our websites, and we've actually got the hard results. 51% stayed 3 to 4 months, only 19% stay 1 month. So that totally takes out they only stay 1 month, although there are many that do stay 1 month, and that can be a good thing in many cases. That's not the overwhelming majority. 45% in our most recent survey that we sent out this year of monthly guests said they spend $27,000 to $5,000 a month or more, and that figure can go up drastically per month. And 98% said they have never shared a residence with another couple of their multi-month vacation. I try to explain this, and it's a way that you have to sort of re-gear yourself when you're thinking about a monthly guest or a snowbird, retiree, whatever you want to call them, is that if you're visiting somewhere and you're going to stay there for a few nights or a week or a weekend or whatever, the nightly, weekly guests typically is kind of either blowing off steam, trying to get away from it all, have some time and use it wisely, where a monthly guest is actually going to be living in this accommodation for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever the case may be. So when they show up and there's a little, hole in the wall from the doorknob behind the door, or maybe the light switch, one of them's broken, or the remotes, batteries aren't working, maybe there's some problems with the fridge or it's making a noise, they're going to get all that fixed when they arrive. You would too, I would too, if I'm going to stay there for several months. And then typically you don't hear from them a whole lot when they leave. Place is in good a condition as it was when they arrived. A lot of times they'll even leave knickknacks and improve it. Sometimes the cleaner doesn't even have a whole lot to do. So that kind of gets rid of the whole crabby thing, the whole, complain a lot and all that kind of stuff. It seems to make more sense when you sort of think about it as though you were living in a place for several months versus staying in a place for a few nights or a week. In addition, retirees and monthly guests often are known for volunteering in the community, being active in the community, patronizing local businesses. Snowbirds have club meetings. Again, there's low wear and tear on your properties, et cetera, and so forth. So the next question we get is, well, when should I advertise? And I've gotten this again over the years, many times. And some people will say, oh, again, and I'll just take the Gulf Coast for an example. That's where I live, on the Alabama and Florida Gulf Coast. Typically when school gets out is basically the floodgates open, school goes back in, everything sort of slows back down. You're sort of needing to keep up with the shoulder season traffic that's still coming. But, you've got the winter season, you're sort of catching your breath, you're sort of putting everything back together after going through a long season of, same day turnarounds, cleaners, maintenance issues, everything in the world. And basically you're going into the fall and you're like, maybe I should think about a snowbird or a monthly guest. Or you may be in another different market where, the seasons are different, South Florida, Hawaii, different coasts, et cetera, California. But so some property managers tend to wait and say, okay, I need to do this now, or should I wait till the spring? So we actually have the data of inquiries coming through our site. So to give you an example, right here, the answer is year round. These are actual inquiries sent through our interface and delivered to owners and vacation rental managers. So in 2018, you can see the #1 month was August, September, and October. So definitely a peak right there in the fall. But then you've got March coming in at 4th and April at 5th, slightly ahead of November at #6. Then you go back to 2017, same answer for #1, but #2 was October, and May jumped in there, who wasn't even in there the following year. Then you had #4 and 5 were July and May. So the answer is, it depends. We all know the vacation rental market is unpredictable. It's different every year. People make bookings and cancel bookings based on, the economy, their health, what's going on in politics, you name it. But we do see a definite, basically, trend of the spring. It hits pretty good. And then around July, August, September, October is also a dominant season. And then going into the newer months. So here, I encourage everyone to look at 2020 at the blue line. So the blue line, you can see March through May plunged during the pandemic. Of course, there was, laws against renting vacation rentals. And then basically people started to come back a little bit. We had the highest September and December in our company's history since 2003 after that. So the monthly market strongly rebounded, as did, we now know, the nightly and weekly market. 2021, we had our highest February through December, again, in our 18-year history, even more than the previous year by a long shot. So the monthly market came back every bit as strong as the nightly, weekly market. Then we get into 2022 this year, and you're kind of wondering, with all the crazy news and the inflation and gas prices and all these things that you're hearing, did it affect it? Well, actually, the monthly market surged up to double what it was in our previous highest 2019 and 20 years. January through April just blew the doors off. It has sort of tempered down a little bit through the middle of the year, but you can see it coming back again, as it always does, July and August. So we've been through how to market the snowbirds, some knowledge and some touching points on snowbirds. Now all monthly vacationers and multi-month guests. So within our sites, we were definitely seeing a constant stream of leads coming through our sites that were not snowbirds. There were people looking to build a house and they need a place to stay for a few months, or they have a house already under construction and it's taking longer than expected. They've just got to have a place. You got traveling nurses and other professionals, and they just need furnished monthly rentals, and they love to choose resort areas or scenic areas, whatever that may be. So we basically rolled out monthlyrentalsbyowner.com in 2010, not necessarily labeling anyone using it as a snowbird, but as any sort of monthly vacationer. 2019, and it did very, very well over the years. We always had it as an add-on. We actually made it a part of the American Snowbird Network. So now when you advertise with our company, you get both with a standard listing, all within the same interface. So what are the monthly guests? And we'll start out with the traditional monthly vacation. Excuse me, these are the monthly guests that have been out there since well before the pandemic. They were out there 10 years ago. They're out there 6 years ago. You have disaster victims. Unfortunately, this is a sad demographic to have to be in their situation, but fires happen, floods happen, acts of nature, hurricanes, tornadoes, things of that nature. You have empty nesters looking to work remotely, and I've known people doing this 10 years ago. Kids are going to college. They can go work at the beach for September, October. They can take their lunch breaks looking at the waves, walking on the beach, still do the same amount of work that they do every day in different occupations. And this is when, technology was not as great as it was today. Business owners able to work remotely. I've talked to many business owners over the year that, oh yeah, I do that all the time. I'll go off to Miami, or I'll go off to the Georgia coast, or I'll go off to Galveston, or whatever the case may be. And I will actually run my company from a vacation beach condo or beach house, and everybody is remote. Everybody has remote technology. Half the time, half the employees work at other locations anyway. Corporate relocations, people moving to new areas. They hadn't sold their home yet. That's, depending on the real estate market, more and less of a trend. It seems to be heading back to more again. But basically, they've moved, they've taken their job, the family hasn't moved, maybe they haven't sold their house yet. Southern and international retirees, so not necessarily snowbirds that are retirees, but people move in, for instance, to the Gulf Coast, people looking to move, but they're coming from Tennessee, or they're coming from North Alabama, or they're coming from North Georgia, or they're coming from, England or France or Italy or China or all these different places, and they want to try before they buy and make sure that they're comfortable in an area. And they don't necessarily always want to stay in the cold weather months where it's just the best price. A lot of times these people, and commonly, do have the revenue or the ability to pay a higher rate if it's a shoulder season month even. Then family and couples desiring and loving the scenic living aspect of being in a resort area. So for instance, you've got a family, or it's just you and your wife, or whatever the case may be, you can get a place a lot of times across the street from the beach for a price that's within reason, because that place across the street does not earn the high price tags that the one that's right on the beach does. And a lot of times you present those sort of monthly guests that are willing to pay a certain rate to owners versus what they get in a tumultuous nightly, weekly market, and they'll take that many times. You got military, and as I mentioned, people waiting on homes are about to move. And then here, since the pandemic, modern technology advancements, new rules steering guests toward monthly rentals. So you got the laws in 2020, the pandemic laws barring vacation stays less than 30+ days, local communities banning nightly and weekly stays. It started happening in 2020. It happened for all those months, and it continues to happen. Remote schooling, which used to be not a taboo thing, but not a very common thing. Of course, the pandemic pushed us all towards remote schooling. Initially, we all had to, and since then, basically laws have changed, technology has changed, and it's more of a norm and a standard now than it ever has been before. Same with working remotely. The pandemic definitely pushed it light years ahead of where it was. So has technology. I heard a quote recently that technology has never been this fast in the history of mankind, and it will never be this slow again. That's a great quote because it changes our lives so fast every year, and we can always do so much more through it. And so many people are just working remotely. Moving from large cities to safer scenic areas and areas, and this is, you hear a lot about people moving, not any specifics, but some from the north to the south for warmer climates, some from bigger cities to smaller areas because they view it as safer, or different political climates, whatever the case may be. Then maybe they're seeking land, outdoor space, areas to roam, outdoor activities. It's happening by the millions. Trying areas before you buy, not just retiring soon, but now all ages, couples, families, retirees, business owners, trying out areas that they're considering moving to, but they're going to stay there for a month or several months, and they don't always want those cold, dreary months. New construction, as we already mentioned, but now with the pandemic, of course, new construction, supplies coming into our country, everything is just getting delayed. So that's further log jamming, moving to new homes and new areas. So you've got all these monthly guests that are seeking these accommodations. Next slide, let's see. So how long are they staying? We actually sent out a survey to all of the customers in our database and asked them, how long are you staying? Are you staying the same length, or is inflation and gas prices and all this bad news making you want to cancel, not come at all? Is it going to make you want to stay less? You had to put in there maybe stay more. We hope for the best, and actually we were very pleasantly surprised. 90% are staying the same amount of monthly vacation stays or more. So you've got 57% staying the same exact length of time as they did last year. Then you got 10% staying at first time staying in a monthly rental. So these are people that are still take their first time stay in a monthly rental. You got 12% that are staying longer than previous monthly vacations. 11% are staying shorter and less. And then you got the 7 and 3%, the minority over there, that's not taking a monthly vacation, either because of inflation and gas or because of other reasons. So this is a really good sign, again, for the monthly market. They are not deterred by current economic hardships. Here is a snapshot of availability in popular vacation cities. This is actually data from AirDNA. This is not our data. AirDNA, in case everybody's not familiar with them, is one of those big companies out there that gathers actual data of actual bookings off the web, and they do it by what they call scraping. And what they claim is they have scraped data directly off of Airbnb and VRBO, and they say other PMSs and other basic huge companies out there that are doing this, and they actually import the data and display it. So if you get a subscription with them, you can pull this data yourself, but they just pull the data for different markets, and they just show from year to year, you know, with the red being, of course, vacancies, the green being occupancies, how each different market goes. And you can see just about any market out there has trends to where they've got, you know, it'll end up being some areas 2 to 3 months. A lot of areas it's 5 to 6 months before you really realize it. Huge opportunities to basically fill these units with monthly vacationers just by having it out there in front of them. Because your competitors are not. If you are, then you're going to get that call, and they're not. Here's an example I like to use to people. It's a real life example, slice of life that I had as an experience with my own. I had for many years a little 1-bedroom beach condo, Gulf Shores, Alabama. And the first example is a little 1-bedroom plus bunk room directly on the beach, small little unit, 750 square foot. Anyway, 2016, 17, and 18's revenue. So I got a call in 2018. And again, this was someone from Tennessee, and they were looking for a monthly stay. And they said, well, I'm looking at the month of October. And I said, well, you're probably not gonna be able to compete with what I would make in October otherwise, but I can go look at it. You know, we have Shrimp Fest, and then we normally get some weekends booked, and it'll probably be a kind of a high number. So I went away and I came up with a number, and I came back to them because I never know. Every year is different, as I'm sure we're all well aware. There is no normalcy necessarily. There's some consistency, but normalcy I wouldn't say in the vacation rental market. And so I came back to them with a number of $3,540. I said, you know, you may not go for this. You probably want to come in November. They said, no, I do not want to be there when it's cold and dreary. We're moving from Tennessee. We're considering it. We want to see if we want to live there in a month where it's sort of normal weather. So I offered it to them. Bam, they said, I'll take it. Then you have, again, same kind of thing, May of 2018, I got another call. Somebody's building a home. It's behind schedule. I got to have a place now. I'd love to have it for several months. I need it in May. And I said, well, you know, it's going to be a pretty high price. You're competing with spring breakers. You're probably not going to want to pay that. They said, yep, but I got to have a place. My construction's delayed. I'm in a spot. So I told them, you know, I'll go ahead and offer it to you. I got to see the price. I came back with a price that was, for me, comfortable enough to rent it on a monthly stay, and I have to worry about missing out on what I might get in the nightly weekly market. Offered it for $4,400. They said, I'll take it. The next year, back on the nightly weekly market, you can still see I did not attain that same level of income. And again, this is a guest who is going to arrive, be low wear and tear, low maintenance, and a lot of times monthly guests will come back the next year. So this is some more of AirDNA data, and I just sort of sliced out a few areas around the state of Florida. On the top right, you can sort of see, as I'll run through them really quick. I've got these three here are South Florida. So you got West Palm, and looking at the data, it looks like, and you could look at this for any market, you got your months where it's a bad month. I absolutely, based on the data, need to get a monthly guest in there. West Palm, that would be September. Naples, it would be October. Alamorada, it would be January, September, and October, where you've got those vacancies of 100%, 94%, 87, 94, 100%. Then you got, what is that, 4 other months going back to the top. West Palm, you got May, June, August, and October. These are 2019. This may not have been everyone's last year, but this was that number. And I can pull these numbers if anybody needs them to show you your markets as well. You got 4 months in Naples. You got May, June, July, and September. You got basically high 70 percentages. West Palm had the high 70s to 80%, and then you got 68 to 76% in Alamorada. Then you got your sort of in the middle, like maybe I'd advertise a good rate for these months and see if I get a monthly call or not. Months like July and November in West Palm, August and December in Naples, and actually none in Alamorada. Jumping to the next area, I believe is the Orlando and Kissimmee. Excuse me. So in Orlando, you know, land of Mickey Mouse and Walt Disney World, they do really, really well. And it's unique from other coastal areas of Florida, but they, I guess, still have their off seasons too, or off season months, I should say. So you got Orlando at 90% vacancy, and this data is from 2019, what I like to call the last normal, in quotes, year before the pandemic. So you had 90% vacancy in September. In August, 68%, October, 71%. Again, if they had marketed some of these properties, not necessarily all of them, but some of them for a high enough monthly rate, they could recoup those losses and also be able to send those guests that they're sharing amongst many nightly, weekly properties to just the ones that are nightly, weekly, while filling the ones that are monthly. And then the surrounding area, Kissimmee, has two really bad months in 2019, September and October, where basically overall industry says around 100% vacant. Then you had August at 68%. Then they have their middle of the road months, July, November, December for Orlando, May, June, and November for Kissimmee. And then jumping on up to the Florida Panhandle, Panama City Beach, January, September, and December seem to be in the direst need, with October and a lot more need that you would ever normally think. And then you've got the considerable months of April, August, and November. So looking at every specific area, you can look at the data basically industry-wide and see what months you need to be prepared and be getting together that monthly rate to put it out there and advertised in front of people who are searching for it. Because if your competition is not advertising it already, or even if they are, you're going to get that call or be between the one or two people they consider just by having it available and out there in front of them. So AirDNA basically made this statement this year. It was back in June or July. Bookings that meet or exceed 28 plus day stays is the fastest growing trip length category today. And there's a chart showing 2019 through 2022, and then 2023 is the dotted line, sort of projecting where it's going to go next year. And you can see where these actual leads are coming in. Overall, I've been to several shows this year. I've heard out of a lot of people, you know, I've got to do something different this year. This was not as what I expected. My summer was not as good as I expected, and my fall has been even worse than I expected. So people are looking at new alternative ways to get in or basically compensate for that lost revenue, that lost occupancy, and monthly guests is a surging, basically opposite wave of that. So basically in May and June of 2022, occupancy fell by 9 to 10% year over year. Conversely, demand for 28 plus days grew 22%. So how many months, based on American Snowbird Event Survey, 81% of monthly guests stay there staying for 2+ months, and 51% stay for 3 to 4 months. So not only are you gaining more revenue in that 1 month, but you're securing down, or you can, if you so desire and advertise those months, 3 to 4 month guests almost half the time. This is, again, more data basically on the same trend. And those are monthly stay increases coming in through the years from 19 to 2021, going into Q1 of 2022. You can see every year is a little bit different, but it's surging back up around 22%. Looks like in Q2 of 2020, it went up to 25% surge. And then down on the bottom right, you got September of 19 to February of 20, basically broken out by different markets: South Florida, Panhandle, Central Florida, Alabama, Gulf Coast, South Carolina, and Arizona. The trends are constant, and they're here to stay. A few more slides here on this data. How can you save your occupancy? Getting into that next point. With monthly rentals, basically remote work has undoubtedly given workers added flexibility and spread peak demand over more months. According to a 2022 monthly rentals by owner survey, 45% of monthly renters spend $2,700 to $5,000 plus a month. So it could be well above that 5,000, but 45%, excuse me, are spending between that amount for each month, and they're staying for multiple months. And I'm also talking to a lot of people in other even higher end areas that are very, very interested in this trend. And we're looking at doing some things to basically meet their need as well, because they're seeing it becoming the trend that is working for them in much higher monthly markets. Examples of Oahu, Fort Lauderdale. I'm talking to people that are very seriously telling me they're getting 10 grand a month to 100 grand a month off of monthly renters. You know, people that are maybe celebrities, maybe just affluent, things like that, but they are renting these homes that, are within that range. And 73% of the guests, going back to the ones from our survey, said that these prices are prices they found to be fair with their monthly stays, with 81% staying more than a month. So 81% of them are staying more than a month. 45% are paying these higher end margins. So how do you market going back to monthly guests? And these are just some ways that we do it through our site, but through our websites, but also you can do it, also in your own practices. We have something we call a multi-month discount, which our interface allows you to advertise to people. So many times, rather than just getting that 1 month guest, for instance, I'll just use the Gulf Coast again for a point of reference, instead of where your off season goes anywhere from October or November all the way around to March, instead of just getting, the guest one wants to come in for November and one wants to come in for February, you may want that one that comes in November and stays November, December, January, February, March. Or maybe they come in December and stay December, January, February. Case in point being, you can tell them, look, I'll knock off whatever the case may be and whatever's relevant to you, $50 a month for 1 month, $75 a month for 2 months, or $100 a month for 3 months. Some property managers go much higher than that. We have property managers that knock off $200 for one, 3 or 4 for another, and 5 or 6 for a third month. It just depends on your market, what's pertinent to you, and whatever the pricing makes sense to where you are. Tell your headlines. That's another thing about our interface. When they go to the huge players out there and they try to search for monthly vacation rentals, are they out there? There's so much inventory, of course they are. But those people advertising are not always tailoring it towards monthly guests. Our entire website is tailored towards monthly guests. So within our website, you put in headlines talking about multi-month stays, things going on. You have a hot tub or heated pool. You have group events within your complex. You're close to a golf course. You're walkable to things. The temperatures, all these different things that you could tailor your headlines for monthly guests. People that are not staying in the prime season, they're there for that specific weather, but they're also interested in the off season and the shoulder season weather. Here's a testimonial from one of our clients that came on back in April. She's actually on the St. Simons coast in Georgia, and she just came on this year. So I thought we'd just kind of highlight one of our newest testimonials, and we very, very much appreciate it. Stacy Drury said, monthly rentals by owner in American Snowbird have been absolutely fantastic for boosting our RevPAR and occupancy. The many inquiries we've received have been serious and reliable quality leads. Their websites have been an easy, intuitive, and effective tool that really work. Also, their staff are very helpful. I would highly recommend monthly rentals by owner in American Snowbird. We really appreciate that, Stacy. She's a very, very nice lady. Also very tenacious, very hardworking. And like so many property managers, like probably all of us, so very busy. If we get a month of opportunity where we actually are not going crazy, we tend to try to maybe squeeze in a week of vacation if possible. And then before you know it, we're thinking about the season already heating back up. But Stacy has gone with us. She's used us, and she's got some good results, and we appreciate her sort of passing that good message on. So in her particular case, in every area is different. She started back in April, so about 6 months. She's only got 6 properties currently. She's talking about adding on more, but she's gotten 52 leads. 19% of them were 3+ months. 33% of them were 2 months, and for 48% were 1 to 1.5 months. Just to give you guys an idea. So if you want to get started with us, the next question is, what's the cost? I just actually got back from a Book Direct show yesterday, a great show that they had in Miami, first time they've had it in the United States. And the whole concept of that show is booking direct. So getting away from the huge OTAs that are charging percentages, and they're trying to keep the guests. There's this enormous new movement of Book Direct, and that's what we are. We're a Book Direct site. So when Snowbirds and other monthly guests use our site, they actually call and email you directly. You'll receive a text notification if you like. You get an email, or they'll call you directly. We don't take any commissions, and we can integrate directly with whatever technology you have going on right now to some greater or lesser extent, depending on who it is. But the general charge, basically, for anybody that wants to put up a few properties, is $123 a year. You don't mind spending the 10 to 20 minutes it takes to create a listing, $123 a year. You got that listing up to photos, and you get out there and you get in front of people. We do have a few integrations with a few PMSs and one channel partner, a PMS and channel partner. So we can talk to you about that. The cost is generally no extra cost. We just sort of require a minimal number of properties to go with us, typically up to 75% of your properties that you have on the monthly market. And again, our websites have been around since 2003, regularly producing thousands of monthly and multi-month seasonal stays. When you post a property with us, it will go to our monthly rentalsbyowner.com website, which again is every monthly vacation out there, and that's the hugest surging one that we've had since the pandemic. In addition to, and again, the snowbird one has been surging as well, our national snowbird site, which is American Snowbird. And if your property is in Florida, go to Florida Snowbird. If it's in California, go to California Snowbird, Texas, South Carolina, whatever the case may be. So for that one fee, it gets you basically out to all 3 sites for a year. Here's how you can get in touch with us. We'd love to talk to you more about your area. We kind of help you discuss some trends, let you know the data for your specific area, let you know pricing, whatever the case may be, help you out, and we'd love to hear from you. So with that, we're going to conclude today's webcast. I thank everyone very much for coming. I hope that you'll either shoot us an email, text, or give us a call and see if we can help you out. We've got some property managers that do 20 or 30 listings, some smaller ones, that start with 6 to 10. Typically, I would say 90% of the time they come back the next year and they up that from 6 or 10 to 30 or 50, or if they're 50, or if they're